At 27, I have an older sister, Sophia, who's 31. While I've worked hard to carve my own path, Sophia still seems adrift, yet somehow, she remains the golden child in our parents' eyes. Growing up, Sophia acted like I was her competition. Even when I wasn't trying to compete, she made it her mission to outdo me in everything, big or small. This wasn't your typical sibling rivalry over who got the last slice of pizza, it ran much deeper. If I took up something new, say, archery, Sophia would show up the next week with her own bow and arrows, loudly declaring her newfound passion. If I journaled about liking a guy, she'd suddenly start flirting with him, as if it were some kind of game. Even lifestyle choices weren't safe. When I decided to eat healthier and exercise, Sophia turned it into her latest trend, mimicking every meal and workout. It wasn't flattering or fun, it was suffocating. Whenever I made a new friend, Sophia would swoop in, trying to claim them as her own. It felt like I couldn't have anything for myself without her turning it into a contest. I brought this up to our parents, hoping they'd understand how much it bothered me. Instead, they dismissed it as harmless sibling behavior. To them, it was normal for sisters to copy each other. They missed the point entirely. It wasn't about the copying. It was about the competition and how it left me feeling overshadowed. Sophia always had to be the center of attention, and my parents cheered her on every step of the way. They made it to all her events, rearranging schedules if needed, but when it was my turn, there was always some excuse. They acted like my accomplishments weren't as important, and Sophia loved rubbing it in. When we were alone, she'd whisper cruel things, claiming no one cared about me. At school, she took things further, tripping me in public or hitting me under the guise of dares from her friends. Teachers noticed and even contacted my parents about it, but they brushed it off as sibling stuff. At home, Sophia would twist the story, convincing them I was the instigator. She had a talent for flipping the narrative in her favor. If she was ever close to being called out, she'd turn on the tears, accusing me of jealousy, and it worked every single time. When my friends started standing up for me, Sophia escalated. She invented stories about how I attacked her, even going as far as to fake bruises and bandages. She spread these lies far and wide, poisoning my relationships and turning people against me. High school became less about learning and more about surviving her schemes. Things hit a breaking point when I got a scholarship for college. After years of hard work, I finally had something that was truly mine. But then my parents dropped a bombshell. The money they'd been saving for both our college funds, since I didn't need it, they gave it all to Sophia. It was like a slap in the face, a painful reminder of the favoritism that had defined our relationship all along. My achievements were an afterthought, sacrificed to prop up Sophia's endless needs. And yet, despite everything, I've learned to move forward, carving out a life that's truly my own. Jake's initial surprise at the $3,000 monthly contribution turned into concern as the months went by. While we were doing well financially, it was still a significant amount, and he worried about the precedent it set. What if they come to rely on it indefinitely? He asked one evening. It was a fair question. Deep down, I wondered the same. The dynamic with my parents started to shift. While they were more communicative and appreciative than before, I couldn't shake the feeling that our relationship was becoming transactional. They rarely asked how I was doing, and conversations often revolved around their needs. Despite this, I continued to support them, hoping to mend our strained history. Things took an unexpected turn when my parents hinted that Sophia was struggling financially. She'd bounced between jobs, had racked up debts, and was living paycheck to paycheck. My mom subtly suggested that I might extend the same generosity to Sophia. The implication hit me like a ton of bricks. After years of favoritism, they wanted me to bail out the very sister who had gone out of her way to make my life miserable. Jake was livid when I told him, "Melissa, you've already done more than enough for them. Sophia made her bed, she should lie in it," he said. His words resonated with me, but the guilt was hard to shake. Could I really turn my back on family, no matter how toxic? After some deliberation, I decided to set boundaries. I told my parents that while I'd continue helping them, I wasn't responsible for Sophia's financial woes. Predictably, they didn't take it well. My mom accused me of holding grudges and being petty, while my dad expressed disappointment. It hurt, but I stood my ground. Sophia, of course, wasn't happy either. She sent me a scathing message, accusing me of abandoning her in her time of need. It was ironic, considering how she'd treated me for most of our lives. I didn't respond. For the first time, I felt a sense of clarity. This wasn't about revenge. It was about protecting my peace. Over the next year, Jake and I continued to support my parents. But I made it clear that the financial help came with boundaries. I also encouraged them to explore other options, like downsizing or seeking financial advice. They reluctantly agreed, though it was clear they preferred the easy route. Sophia eventually stopped reaching out altogether, which was a relief. Meanwhile, Jake and I focused on building our life together. We traveled, invested wisely, and even started a small charity to support underprivileged students, a cause close to both our hearts. Looking back, I realized that my journey wasn't just about overcoming family challenges. It was about finding my voice, standing up for myself, and creating a life that brought me joy. And in Jake, I found someone who not only supported me but also reminded me of my worth, even when my own family couldn't see it. The situation with my parents and sister feels like a storm that's been brewing for years, finally hitting its peak. Their deceit and manipulation were hard pills to swallow, but it also brought clarity. Their actions were never about family values or love, they were about entitlement and control. In hindsight, the warning signs had been there all along. I had ignored the uncomfortable questions about how they were spending the money I sent, choosing instead to hope that it was bringing us closer. But now, the realization that they had been using me to prop up my sister's lifestyle, without my consent, cut deeply. When I confronted Jake about the whole ordeal, he was supportive. As always, "You've been more than generous," he said. "They took advantage of your kindness, and it's okay to set boundaries now." His words gave me the strength to stand firm, even as the guilt my parents tried to heap on me threatened to pull me back. Since cutting them off, the persistent calls and texts from my parents haven't stopped. Each message carries a different tone. 1 minute, they're apologizing profusely. The next, they're accusing me of abandoning my family. Sophia, however, has stayed silent, which feels like confirmation that she knows she's in the wrong. What stings most is not the money, but the betrayal of trust. I had extended an olive branch, hoping for reconciliation and a healthier relationship with my parents, only to be used and lied to. While part of me mourns the loss of the family I wanted to have, another part feels liberated. For the first time, I'm no longer carrying the weight of their expectations and demands. Looking ahead, I've decided to channel my energy into the life Jake and I have built together. We've talked about starting a family of our own someday, and this experience has shown me the importance of creating an environment rooted in honesty, respect, and love, not manipulation or obligation. I've also learned a powerful lesson. Family isn't defined solely by blood but by the people who genuinely care about you and treat you with kindness. While my parents and Sophia may never fully understand why I made this choice, I know in my heart that it was the right one for me. I refuse to let their toxic patterns continue to affect my life. Instead, I'm choosing to focus on my happiness and the people who truly deserve to be a part of it.